recording of this. All right, so we are recording and live. It's 1 p.m. Very happy to have everybody online. People are still joining. Good day to do a webinar. So my big promise to you, the next 60 to 75 minutes, you're going to learn how to build relationships with press and influencers on your own, using a simple 7-step process that I've used over 9+ years. I've gotten 2 startups acquired by AVG and Google, and we'll get into that and how I did that with the same process. But I want you guys to grasp this process during this workshop. And if you don't, I want you to email me and we'll get on the phone and I'll help you grasp it. All right. So I want you to know this stuff on your own. Here's the game plan for the next 60 to 75 minutes. We're going to go into why do your own press outreach. Why do this? Why not hire somebody who's a professional and let them do this stuff on their own and just pay them? This is the traditional way of doing things in PR, right? You hire some other agency, some other product, some other person, let them do all the press stuff, and then just stay away from it. Why do your own press outreach? How I got a startup acquired by Google. Now this is something Dennis already asked about. The 7-step the exact 7-step press outreach process I've used. So this is I'll delve into the process after I present the case study about Google. Looks like somebody is unmuted, so go ahead and kind of mute yourself if you could. There is somebody who has their microphone on. All right, thanks. And so here's the game plan. And the very last thing that you all have been waiting for, you watch me reach out to journalists. This is it. This is what you guys been waiting for, and you're excited about. And I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna get 4 startups that I chose from 172 pitches that you guys submitted. I'm gonna do this. So I'm gonna run through this semi-quick. I hope we can get tons more time so I can even show you some of my inbox is crazy with all these people that contacted, with all you guys that contacted me, said, hey, I got this, I got this, I got this startup. And at the very end, so we're going to go through all the sort of like the process, the theory, then I'm going to apply it by reaching out to journalists. At the very end, I want you to take these strategies and tactics and learn here today and use this to start reaching out to press this very week, this week. If you're not reaching out this week, then we need to get on the phone, we need to talk, and I need to coach you through this some more, because anybody can do this, and it's really important that all you guys learn how to do this, all right? So you'll want to take some notes. I want you to go old school now. I know we're doing a webinar. There's laptops involved and big computers, but look, just if you got some paper and just look around, if there's some paper, I want you to jot some stuff down. There's something like crazy that happens in your mind when you actually write things down. And as you're listening to this, just jot things down. There will be a recording, there'll be all that stuff, but I just want you guys to know this stuff inside and out, and I want you to take notes as we go through this. So I told you I'm going to do this. So a quick poll, a show of hands. Everybody who is on the webinar right now, I want you to click the question mark and answer this question. Have you ever reached out to a journalist or influencer with a cold email? Give me a yes and no, maybe, or any other details that you you have about that. And I'm just going to watch your answers roll in here. There's tons coming in. All right. Yes. All right. So we got some, like a decent amount of people, like 30 people or so saying. I'm just trying to count really quick here. Yes. Somebody said sorry. Me, or you're saying sorry for what? I'm just asking if you ever reached out to journalists or not. I'm guessing that's a no. Will already did it today. Will Bernholtz already reached out today to somebody via Twitter. And Will, how did it go? Did anybody respond to you on that? Or Leon so badly. All right, he's reached out. It looks like Leon and died. He said, I reached out and died. That's what Leon's saying. Will says, no response. I tweeted at them and there's no response. All right. So we got like some people. David Payne has been reaching out. All right. So we got some people that have been actually reaching out, which is awesome because we're going to be talking about this exact process, how to improve it. So um, why am I teaching you this? What is my background that I'm qualified to just stand up here and talk about this stuff? Well, I'm a growth hacker. I'm a software engineer. I worked with AppSumo, no Kagan. I work with Wistia. You guys probably heard of Wistia. It's a video hosting platform. Work with Crossloop. Got acquired by AVG. Work with Zerb. We got Twitter Bootstrap conceived at Zerb back way back a while ago. And Polar, I work with Polar, which was acquired by Google, and you know, it's I work with lots of startups, and I've used PR to get them to a stage where they get acquired or grow significantly. So why do I want to focus on Polar? You guys remember sort of like the game plan. I'm going to be talking about Polar acquisition. Who cares? There's tons of acquisitions out there. There's tons of startups that are being acquired. Well, I use this press outreach process, which you can replicate. And I've taught over 100 startups at this point how to replicate this. Over the 9 years that I've worked, I've coached them through this very process. So, game plan, the first thing, why do your own press outreach? Who cares? Who cares? Why do you need to do this yourself? Can't you go and find somebody to do this on your behalf? My experience with cold email outreach started here. I was really struggling. I got a picture of San Francisco here because I moved out to San Francisco. I was unhappy at my job. I quit my software engineering job and I sold everything I had and drove cross country to Silicon Valley. I wanted to build a business that was my own. I was a software engineer. I hated what I was doing, so I wanted to do something business. I wanted to build a marketing business. I come here from Soviet Union. I was really struggling early on with my weight gain, and then I got into computers. You see that picture there, that's circa 1995. Lost a bunch of weight, had a pretty good job, but I was struggling, right? I was sort of like, I adopted to the culture here. I really sort of like soaked in all the I don't know, just the culture, the people. And I thought, I got my computer science degree and I thought I had a really good career as a software engineer. I was a manager at a pretty young age, but I was just terribly unhappy. I moved out to California and I wanted to do marketing and I had no business experience at all. Everything I did wasn't working. I was depressed and I was running out of money because I wasn't working, frankly. I was there to just try and work with startups and chat with them about what are they up to, what are they working on, and how I can help them. But my expertise were only computer science. This was until I met Mrinal. He was number 20 at LinkedIn, and Mrinal taught me something just blew my mind, right? This guy was, I think, the second biz dev guy in LinkedIn and number 20 total, worked with the founders. And he came over here just like me. I came from Soviet Union. You saw those crazy fat pictures of me, and I lost all the weight, became a software engineer. He came from India, fresh off the boat, and he was in the same position as me. Like, he didn't know the culture or the language or kind of what to do. And so he started asking people questions and building relationships with them, and that eventually led them this job at LinkedIn. Well, Murnal was doing this kind of stuff. So there's Walt Mossberg, sort of like, you guys know Walt Mossberg, sort of like the mecca for all bloggers out there. And Murnal was tweeting at him and striking up these conversations saying, hey, Walt, agree, but I'm curious if Apple would provide an integrated hardware, software, and wireless service. Just striking up a casual conversation about a topic that this sought after guy, this guy who's like, everybody wants to be covered by Walt Mossberg is like, you hit the lottery because tons of people read his stuff. All the other reporters, journalists, come back to him. He's one of the sort of like the original tech reporters from back in the day, right? He strikes up these conversations. He builds these relationships. He gets stories like this published. This is his startup. Walt Mossberg covered this huge piece that he wrote about Crossloop, which was a startup that I ended up working at, and this was Mernal's startup back in the day. But Mernal was building these relationships on his own. We did not have a PR firm. We didn't have anybody else working with us. It was just him, and he was doing this on Twitter, and this looked hot to me. Some reason I thought, this is very interesting. I want to learn this, and I want to know how this is done. I realized then anybody can build relationships with journalists, influencers, or anybody they want based on this approach after I saw this. So um, I started doing this myself, and this led me to guest writing. I ended up some of my early guest writing, 2010, about 5 years ago. So now, yeah, actually, this was August 14th. Yeah, 5 years ago that I started writing for other publications through forming the same types of relationships that Mernal was having by starting these conversations with journalists about topics and things they really, really deeply cared about. Not just things they wrote about, but really, really deeply cared about. So I had to do a ton of research, but I really kind of dug in and found out kind of what is it that I want to connect them with them on. Um, since then, since the 2010 days, I've published over 1,300 articles to date, and I've cataloged most of them on Delicious. So, you can check them out on Delicious, or my site also has some of them as well. But, I published these articles because I formed relationships, and this is where I want to talk about Rami, and I'm not sure if Rami's on the webinar now, but I'll look. I'll Rami, you're on there now.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, cool. So Rami, I'm going to talk a little bit about you and have you chat a little bit. So Rami reached out to me, and he had a business that here in New York City about renting used furniture that you don't have any use for, I guess. And he was wanting to pitch some journalists and reporters, and I told him how I do things, how I build relationships with journalists, and he said, I don't really have time to build relationships. I got to reach out right now. And this is the pitch that he sent to Serena, who worked at DNA Info, and said, after reading your article, so he references the article that's really, hands-on. She just wrote this article. I thought you'd be interested to hear more about new service, very sort of generic, but again, the service is related to the article that she wrote. My company developed an expensive furniture subscription model. We're launching in New York City. So super relevant because Serena actually only writes for New York City, and she covers this area, and she had actually just covered something similar. This led to this article being published on DNA Info, which is a pretty popular blog here in New York City. And Fox picked this up, right? So he got a call from Fox News, and so Fox ended up doing a special on it, which ended up being propagated to all these other stations. So this just recently happened. So Rami, how is it going right now?
Huh. It's great. We actually had coverage in I think 12 other cities across the country. And even today, somebody signed up to our service, and he's like, "Yeah, I was telling my mother who lives in Washington D.C. that I moved, and she's like, "Yeah, I saw these guys furnish share on TV." And we got to still even like that, even though we only cover a small area here in New York City. And yeah, it's going absolutely great. We're getting a lot of people just inquiring about us, from other journalists to customers, and it's moved the needle, and I never imagined it would do so much so quickly. We were definitely unprepared for it.
Cool, that sounds good. And you're following up. You're doing more sort of press outreach to keep the press going.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm reaching out now to like local journalists, um, well, just to get smaller interviews and stuff. Since we don't want to keep going with like bigger news, we just want to kind of keep this thing going.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Cool. All right. Well, this is just some of the stuff that like this can be you. That's just I wanted to put that into your head, and I didn't want to do some cheesy testimonials or anything like that. I just wanted to get this idea across to you that like PR, reaching out to press is not some other thing that some other people do. You can just sit down, like bust out some emails and actually get responses back from people if you actually know how to do this. And this is not rocket science, you can learn this, all right? So anybody can build real relationships with journalists. Rami can go back and follow up with everybody who's written or covered him now and talk to them a little more about, as the company develops, other news, milestones. Maybe they can collaborate on an article down the line. Maybe Rami has data behind some of the rentals and who rents them and what type of people like to rent these things, and some interesting stories. This is the building relationship part of your relationship with journalists. So most people would getting great results with this stuff. It's just people like you and me, and I became passionate about it probably like about 9 years ago or so, when I saw Ronaldo do this live in front of me, and I saw how powerful these relationships can be, for me, for anybody really. So I want you to tell yourself right now, I will reach out to press on my own. I want you just to type that in. I want to see a lot of people typing that into the questions, because yeah, I see already. Like, I see people coming in right now, typing that in. I will reach out to press on my own. Reach out, press my own. I want this just ingrained in your head, because next time when anybody brings anything up and saying, "Look, we're going to hire a PR agency, we're going to hire a PR firm," anybody who's outside of your company, I'm like, look, that firm is going to own the relationships. That firm isn't going to do as good of a job as you will. It doesn't matter how much you pay them. So type this into the questions. I will reach out to press on my own. And okay, I see like tons of them scrolling. Good. All right, let's. I want to walk you through the 7-step process right now. Here it is. Nail down your 1-sentence pitch. Nail down your pitch angle. These are the things that we'll delve into. I just want you to kind of remember or jot this down if you got some notes in front of you. You got your 1-sentence pitch, which is great, and I'll talk in detail about what that is. The pitch angle, find journalists who will be good fit for that pitch angle. So this is where we do research, and you'll see me do this live. You'll see how I use this with the case of Polar being acquired by Google, all this stuff, but you just need to know the steps right now. So after you find journalists who are a great fit for your pitch angle and your 1-sentence pitch, then tailor your email pitch to each journalist. So, in case of Rami, he actually found somebody who covered this local area here in New York City about similar startups than his, that are in the same realm, in the same geographical area, and reached out to that journalist very timely, right? Figure out the best time to reach out. Again, they just wrote about that bike startup. This was the perfect time to reach out and say, hey, I'm doing something very similar here right next door to you. Send an email and track it. I'll show you how to track email, see if they opened it, and follow up based on that, based on if they have opened the email or not. All right. But before sort of like we dive into the meat and potatoes of these 7 steps, I want you to share the actual story by how I got Polar acquired by Google and employ these 7 steps. Then we'll go into the 7 steps. Then we reach out live. All right. So Polar was a startup that was a way for you to collect and share opinions. So instant photo calls, right? That was the first idea, but then we kind of evolved it into a full-out web app. But here the idea is very simple. You put 2 pictures together, you put a question on it, and that's it. That's what the app was. We had 0 users on launch day, and that's how I felt. It was really, really, really sad. The Polar app is the ultimate tool for indecisive people. This was the article that I kind of pitched, and I pitched a little bit to get some traditional media, and I got one launch article. We all know what happens with launch articles. It kind of goes up and then right down. So, we got 50 to 100 active users. This was not a sustainable growth strategy. It was not how we're going to keep getting more and more users. This is a launch story. The launch story is over. What do we do now? So I asked myself, why would people use polling software? What context? Like who actually wants to use this stuff? Where does it add value, and who is that target market? Again, I'm trying to think of influencers, journalists, people that have tons of traffic, tons of my target audience, and trying to think like, how do I actually fit into it? How, you know, and I need to be a must-have for them, right? I cannot be a nice to have, right? And so as I'm thinking through this, I'm trying to figure out value piece. Like, how am I adding value to what they do day to day, right? Is it excitement? Is it just engagement? And how can I get more of that value into that pitch? How, like in Rami's case, like added value showed that reporter journalist about a new thing that's very similar to what the types of stuff she's covering. She got excited covering that. But going further down the line, maybe some data about New York City, people renting stuff in New York City, maybe things like that that he can keep feeding her to keep building that relationship. In my case, how can we get the word out Polar without spending tons of dollars? How can I add value to people? So I tried a whole bunch of stuff. And Dennis, you asked this question earlier. I was falling down a lot. Partnerships, blog sponsorships. Like I was trying to do everything, traditional PR, buying ads. I was doing a lot of stuff trying to figure out who can I add value to, how can I get traffic over to my site, and things were kind of part way. These solutions were part way, right? They were not jackpots. They were not 100% centered on what we did, right? What the value that we provide for them. So we weren't providing enough value in all these situations. So I kept digging further and further. Why would somebody add a poll to the website? I kept asking myself this question because my PR strategy needed to kind of revolve around that. And I thought, to increase engagement of the traffic that's coming to the site. So, if you got traffic coming to the site, they consume whatever is on the website and then they leave. So, like my good buddy Noah, who actually promoted this webinar, and thank you, Noah Kagan, for promoting the webinar. Again, folks into this chat right now, which is you guys are asking all sorts of questions here. I'll jump right to questions in a bit. I just want to finish this section. All right, so to increase engagement of traffic coming into the site, who has lots of traffic? Breaking news, right? So I had these polls, and I said, look, breaking news. These guys have lots of traffic coming in. What can I do here to marry the two? Well, heck, maybe I can look at TechMeme. I can look at who are the hottest, what's the breaking news here? Xbox, One versus PS4, like, and what kind of polls can I create to put into these articles? Again, why would people actually add the articles? Not because like these polls are cool or awesome, but people are actually going to spend more time consuming the information in the article because this poll is going to be in there, and there's going to be a few of them, and people are going to read the article and then they're going to vote in the poll. So that was the idea that was in my mind constantly, is like, I'm adding more value to reporters and journalists because they're writing these articles. They want more people consuming it, more people staying on the website. And so this was my value prop. Now, this is my actual emails that I was sending out. And again, I'm recording this. I'll share the slide deck as well with you guys. But I want you to kind of understand the process here. Like I'm writing to Chris because he wrote about Foursquare logo, and I actually have the poll that's directly ripped from that article that has the same images and everything, and it's comparing the logos, and I'm saying, look, this is what it looks like on another blog, and that blog had tons of votes on that poll. So it's like, like Chris can look and see, wow, like I got 10 comments on my post versus this other guy who got 10,000 votes on that poll set that he put in. Like, what looks sexier for me in terms of engagement metrics? And so I'm going to talk more about this stuff, but email tracking is really, really, really useful. You'll get to see my inbox in a bit here when I start pitching press live here, but as you see, like I use Mixmax. It's a cool little tool. It's a plugin into Google. This little one with a lightning icon next to it tells me that somebody's read my email, and I can hover over and see that. This is really important because when you reach out, you want to know, are people reading it or are they just deleting it? So I use this a lot when I reach out to press, and that's what I was using, the type of software I was using when I was doing this reaching out. This is what a typical poll would look like inside an article. And this is the topics that we're very hot at the moment. Xbox One versus Sony PS4. Put that thing in there, people are going to voice their opinion, right? Very hot item. These things were about to come out. The Sony CFO quoted our poll in an earnings call. This is how crazy things got with these polls with us when I was pitching. So I would pitch a poll, a reporter would put them in, tons of people would vote on it, then other people would cover the results of that poll, or the same blog would cover it. International Business Times picked this up. We had iOS Showdown. So every day I would wake up and we'd come up with 3 hot pitches about news that were happening right now and what kind of polls we could get. And we would try and accumulate some votes on them, so we'd promote them for a little bit, and then we pitch them and say, look, here's the votes. People actually prefer iOS 7. I don't know if you guys remember, but iOS 7 actually was not preferred back before it was coming out. When the first icons surfaced, people were kind of pissed about the new icons and weren't really excited about getting the new iOS. So we created sort of a matchup between iOS 6 and iOS 7. We're like, look, who is going to win here? And the iOS 7 was winning by a huge margin. So we were pitching this stuff. BGR, people were like, it's crazy. iOS 7 is sort of like the winner, and it was counterintuitive because everybody kind of hated it. And TechCrunch was including this thing. So when Snapchat was in talks about Facebook acquisition, like look at the amount of votes on that thing. It's crazy, and it actually adds time on site for these publishers. So there's a clear value prop that all these publishers started putting in, and NPR, Washington Post, so forth, USA Today, all of them added the poll, and then after the poll there will be a share button. This was all customizable, but people will share it out. And this is where I'm thinking about that value piece. How am I adding value? How am I more and more value, right? It's not enough that people are spending tons more time on site. I want people to keep coming back to the site, new people, because that's why people will keep using it. It's Hollywood.com wants more people come back to their site. So I want people to share their opinion out, make sure people come back to the article on the website to make sure that they vote on their new users. These are the emails I was sending people back, right? I was saying, Jenna, hope things are going great. By the way, that article, that poll you added, 58.9 hours of time spent on your site just with that poll. If you didn't add that, 93.5 hours with that wish list 2013 article, right? So it's like I'm giving her stats about the value, right? I'm putting it into metrics, saying, look, if you don't use this thing, this is what would be happening. If you use our thing, this is exactly the impact that we're delivering to you. These emails kept people going. They knew why they would keep using the software, these polls that we keep sending them. And we'd pre-make the polls. Yeah, I'm getting questions here that we make the polls. Yes, I was creating the polls myself, and we actually had a support staff that was helping us every day. We had Europe and US. So there's an article I wrote about this. You guys can I kind of went kind of quick through this, just so there's an article on the Next Web. If you Google anything about Polar or Google, you'll find the next web article. So how are you doing? Digging this stuff? Getting any ideas? Applying this kind of stuff? All right. Any questions at all and anything? How are you doing? Just tell me. Awesome. Great. Not sure about this. All right. Getting tons of questions here. This worked great for Polar. It had direct benefit for the reporter. Not all of us have something that is of direct value for reporters. So James, yeah, good point. So we're going to talk about how to form relationships with reporters, how to use your personal story to build that relationship forward so you can actually, provide value to reporters without doing polls like these. So Matt is asking, did you pitch poll results or reporters just found this info? We pitched the poll results. And so Diana, I'm actually doing PR for Linio, the leading e-commerce and later we have problem. Amazon just landed and the media is leaving us behind. Any ideas? Leon, just email me. It looks like it's a very complex sort of one-off question you got about Amazon and specific issue with that. All right. Awesome. Love what you're doing, David Payne. All right, cool. Like the idea about sending stat metrics on use for use. Did you automate that? Did we automate this process? Somewhat, somewhat. We actually needed to do a little better at automation because we wanted for it to be a little bit faster. So we by the time we got acquired by Google, it was not fully automated. There you go. There's a quick answer for you. All right, people are just crazy chatting with me. This is exciting. This is exciting. There's tons of people on. I'm gonna keep going. We're like at 1:30. I'm just gonna run through this stuff like super quick, all right? Because I want to get to reaching out, and that's the hottest thing. So 7-step process. I already gave this to you. If you guys have questions on it, just like ask me afterwards. I don't want like people staying later than they should. So meat and potatoes, right? Nail down your pitch, nail down your pitch angle, find journalists, guess the email, write your email pitch, send it, follow up. Let's get into the meat and potatoes. 7-step process. Who's ready? Nail down your one sentence pitch. Dave Rossi is the man for putting together this Mad Lib. I love this Mad Lib. I've given them credit every time I mention this Mad Lib, and I use it everywhere. Everywhere. This exercise, I count every startup I coach, and I coach about 6 at a time, monthly. And so right now, like I have 6 new ones that came in for October. We're starting this process with them right now. And the first piece of homework is like, look at this Mad Lib. My company name is developing, offering to help target audience solve a problem with a secret sauce. Jot this down. This is why I wanted you to put I know most of you didn't bring out a notebook or anything like that. You didn't have a piece of paper. I know. I just know. You guys are lazy. You're sitting down. You're eating your lunch or whatever. But I want you guys to remember this Mad Lib. If you don't remember anything, just remember this Mad Lib because this cuts all the BS out of the stuff you pitch other people. So I want you to fill this in and refine that because I want you guys, if you say this sentence to a random person at a meetup, they should nod their head and understand. If they don't, if you say this to your grandma, they don't, something is too complex, it's too long, it's just, Wayne has been like emailing me a lot lately. Wayne, you know who you are. And he's just these like long emails that are just these huge pitches, and I'm like, just go through this, okay? Just learn and learn this Mad Lib, apply it. It's awesome. So this will be your one sentence pitch. This is how you will talk about your company and what you do. Some quick examples. I'm not going to spend too much time on that. Soylent, never cook another meal or buy groceries again. Awesome. Airbnb, we all know what the slogan is there. Some not so great ones. I didn't want to go through tons of examples, but this is just one of them. We're a web analytics platform designed to give you business intelligence to close your next deal. Just no idea what that is or how that helps anybody. This I get right away, and I identify the value right away there. If there is value for me there, here just it's like Kafka here, like so nebulous. I'm not going to get into this too much into detail, but this is from a book. This is how I make sure that one sentence pitch is sort of tangible and in a good form, and then it's awesome. If you put check marks next to all these questions, can it be pitched in the subject line? You've got my attention. Now can you keep it? Can you express this in terms that I understand? So go through these questions. This will be a recording. I'll give you these slides. But I want you guys to go through these questions. Make sure you perfect this one sentence pitch. Art of emails. Again, my plan was to actually go through all these pitch angles. I'll jump on this site really quick, but this is a good friend of mine who runs this site called artofemails.com, and she's got a great compilation of sort of like probably the best pitch angles I've seen. Sort of, a lot of you are talking about pitch angles. Like Dimitri, you were doing polls. That has nothing to do with me. I don't have anything interesting to share. I'm sure you do, right? I'm sure you do. And your personal story is one of them. And what she does, she actually gives you quick little email drafts here. Again, Sapphire works with me on a number of projects. She's absolutely great. And if you email her, she'll respond to you. But she's got an amazing compilation, and I have tons more that I'll be giving to you at the end of this course. But I want to jump back in and go through this. So at the end of the webinar, I'll give you a full list of these pitch angles. Finding journalists, So let's get into journalists, right? Finding journalists. So who would be a great fit? So the way I do this, and again, we're gonna get into the actual reaching out, so you'll see me do this live. But what I do is I look on Google News for people that write about that specific topic. So once you know your one sentence pitch, you put that keyword into Google News, you can see people that are writing about that keyword. And I actually built a whole service called justreachout.io, which I'll probably just give out to you, subscriptions to all of you guys who showed up for this webinar. But justreachout.io is a service that I have that helps people find journalists based on keywords that they write about. So when you type in startup PR, these are the articles that people are writing about. These are people that might be interested in my course. They might be interested in this presentation and Just Reach Out, my tool, my SaaS product. So what I do is I dig a little deeper, and we'll get into the researching up next, but I'll look into their, Twitter profile or bio and say, are they actually covering that topic? Because just because they wrote about it doesn't mean that they actually live and breathe this thing and that they really, really care about it. That's what I was talking about with Rami's case. He actually made sure that that person really cared about New York City and what was happening here in the local area, and she was writing about this stuff day in, day out. So it's important to kind of look at their bio and make sure that, hey, is this person really writing about this stuff? But that's a basic process here. It's like the only way this kind of doesn't work is if you put in a really obtuse or weird keyword in here and it doesn't really relate to what you do, or that person doesn't really write about it. They just wrote a one-off article. So it's important for you guys to make sure that you put in the right keyword. Now, this really quick is my target hit list. Again, I'll talk about this and give you more details at the very end. There's a bunch of stuff that I'll just be sharing with you. But this is what my Google Doc looks like. Very basic. You guys probably can grasp this right away. URL of the article that they wrote, the person's name, and my notes about them. That notes about section is probably the most important part. This is where you write about, does this person write about this topic a lot? Do they actually write for this publication, or are they a contributor to that publication? Does this person work for another company that is very similar to what you do? Some things that are just you need to understand. Like most of these people that are writing about topics might not be full-time writers because writers don't get paid that much. So a lot of them have their own businesses and they also write for Forbes or whatever. So these are sort of like the notes that I'm putting down in terms of who these people are, what do they like. I check out their Twitter profile and so forth. All right, guessing their email, very important step. I want you guys to kind of master this. There is a whole bunch of tools that I use. We're approaching like 40 minutes here, so I want to be quick with this. So here are the two main formats that you guys are probably going to find the emails under. So if it's a Forbes.com, if it's a company called Forbes.com, then first name at Forbes.com. First name dot last name, first initial, last name. These are the basic formats that, and then if that's not working, well, heck, like I told you, most people that are writers and journalists, they're not full-time journalists or writers. They actually have their own thing. They have their own blog. They have their own company. They have their own Gmail account, and you can find them on Gmail. So if those emails aren't working, do the same at Gmail. That works most of the time. It's not a science. You try a few things and you get to the point. If all this kind of fails, there's about like 10 different methods that I use to find emails. Probably the most one that I use all the time, the one I'll be using today in a bit here when I start reaching out to press, emailhunter.co. So when I put in Forbes into emailhunter.co, Email Hunter tells me all the emails it has indexed over tens of decades, maybe a decade. I don't know how long they've been around, but they have tons of sources that they've indexed from. So I can actually see real emails in here, and I can see the format, right? I can see that first initial last name at Forbes.com is the format that Forbes uses for everybody who works for Forbes. So if it's a full-time staff writer at Forbes, chances are their email will be this. This is how I sort of check emails. Again, I go through whole, like I use, if it's a personal blog, I go and do a who is lookup on it, and I find what the email will be. There is emailformat.com. There is tons of tools that I'll be just sharing at the very end of the webinar. So you're gonna have to stick around till the end, but I'll share that stuff with you. And again, all right, Dennis. Tons of other people have asked about subject lines, and we're gonna go through this super fast. I'm gonna check in with you guys, see if there's any questions. There's tons of people that are asking questions. All right. All right. Looks like people are putting in their pitches in here, guys. Oh, a better version of a bad pitch, Mir. Yes, I can get you a better version of bad pitch. This is very relevant, actually. So let's look at this. So growthhackers.com. The reason I wanted to open this up live, so you guys can grab that URL if you want. 500 editors, journalists reveal. This is what I was talking about. There's 500 journalists that were surveyed and asked about, what is it that they prefer. And it's really interesting, actually, what they came up with, because so some of the stuff that I want to talk about is just the research and stuff that came out about how many stories do you write per day. Just to give you an example of kind of how many stories, the majority you're pitching only write one story a day, just one story, guys. Remember, like, wow, one story that's a lot. Like, imagine how many pitches they receive, right? About how many pitches do you receive a day? More than 50. Although most writers publish one story per day, 44% of them get pitched a minimum of 20 times per day. Imagine. So that's like, I want you guys to understand this world, right? 44 of them get pitched a minimum of 20 times a day, and they write one story on average, right? How often do you write a story based on something that was sent through a pitch? Very interesting question. 11% said very often. 45 said sometimes. 45 said sometimes. Interesting, right? Although writers are inundated with pitches, only 11% of them write a story based on the content. So you start to understand like where your pitch kind of fits in, right? However, 45 said that sometimes, so there's an opportunity, right? There's an opportunity. Would you rather be pitched ideas that you can collaborate on or get your finished asset? So this is really interesting, actually. 70% of publishers are looking for collaboration. So this tells you that, Rami can go back and say, look, we actually have data about rental market in New York City. Do you want to collaborate on a piece together? Do you want to write together, do an article together? And this addresses some of the questions that I think Mir and Will were asking, and Marwan, that we're asking questions about, just, how do you keep it going? Polar was a great example, but, not everybody has a poll to pitch. How do you keep going? And that's a great example, collaborating on a piece together, sharing some type of topics or anything interesting that, any data that you can share with them that kind of help both of you write an article together. Stop spamming writers with poorly matched assets. All right. What characteristics does the perfect piece of content possess? Here we go. Okay, exclusive research, breaking news type of stuff. What types of content do you wish you saw more? Articles, infographics. This is still interesting, but the part I want to get to is how is it important for a person to establish a personal connection? Okay, it's important to 16% said it's very important. 15%, 33% said it's moderately important to establish a personal connection. 64 think it's some importance. So if you add all these guys up, 64 say it's some importance for them to establish a connection. So which of the following channels do you prefer to be pitched on? All right, this is important. Write this down. If you got like a piece of paper or pull out your phone or whatever, computer, which of the following channels do you want to be pitched on? 81% said email. 81. So this tells you right now one thing. 81% are going to want to do email. Put down the cell phone. Stop doing social media. Start writing sincere emails. And that's what I'm about. I want you guys to just remember. Use BuzzStream. There's tons of tools out there to find blogs. What time of the day do you want to be pitched? 69% prefer morning. So I want you guys to remember this. Email morning. All right. There's tons of these pre-scheduling tools. I use Mixmax as well to do this. What email length do you prefer? All right, this was the question before the webinar started. Somebody asked this question. 45% said less than 100 words. 43 said less than 200, and 12 said more than 300. So 88% of writers prefer a pitch that's less than 200 words. So guys, please, all right, email, then make sure it's in the morning, and make sure it's less than 200 words, okay? Do you open an email based on subject line? Yes, of course. 85% said yes. The golden rule is 45 to 65 characters. This was a question that was asked earlier today. Here is the answer backed up by 500 journalists. So 45 to 65 characters is what you guys want to have for your subject line. Which of the following subject line catches your attention the most? 42% chose content title. 29 chose personalized. So direct, concise, and descriptive. All right, so we're probably not going to go through the rest of the slide deck. Again, you guys can go on your own, but this gets into, how likely are you to delete a pitch based on a spelling grammar error, regardless of the content's quality. Spelling, how 19% are completely likely, right? 30C said very likely. All right, so spelling matters, right? I want to jump back into our slide deck and get into. All right, so at the end of the webinar, you'll get a full list of email templates that I use to reach out to journalists and reporters based on that data that all of you guys just saw. All right. Like I said, when you track, you use Mixmax or you use some other tool out there. Yesware, there's tons of them out there, but you must track the email and make sure that they've opened it. If they haven't opened it, you're either striking out or you're sending it at the wrong time, or your subject line is not 45 to 65 characters. Your email might be, the subject line is off, might be wrong fit. Again, at the end of the webinar, I'll share the best times, all that stuff. So follow up. First day after the email, did they open it? If they opened it, how many times? So this is like, if they've opened your email, that tells me there's interest, right? And if they opened it 2 times, that means they're very interested. If they have not opened it, there's probably no interest, or they were just too busy, but I think there's no interest. So you can either try with a different subject line, or you can just not reach out to that person for a little while and reach out with completely, something completely different in a few days. So this is immediate feedback to you. When you're reaching out and you're doing follow-up, should you follow up? Well, did they open it? If they didn't open it, they probably didn't see it, or they just deleted it right away. So their software will actually tell you if they deleted your email too. So you need to know exactly kind of what happened before you follow up. I only follow up when I see people opened it 2-3 times and they didn't respond to me. That's telling me that they're interested, but they got caught up in something. All the other scenarios are kind of like, meh, probably not. Probably, you're striking out again. And again, I reach out like, for every 100 emails, maybe 10 will come back, right? All right, we're through this process, the 7-step process. I try to do it as fast as I can, and again, at the end, I'll have a Q&A, so you guys can ask any questions about any of these. But if you're sitting there, I want you to just remember, nail down your 1-sentence pitch. You remember that Adeo Rossi Madlib. It's awesome. It's awesome. I love that Madlib. Nail down your pitch angle. Tell them, how you're actually going to pitch. Find journalists who would be good fit. You saw how we did that with Google, and we browse some of the profiles to understand kind of where these people are and where do they work and what's their day-to-day like, and guess their email. I showed you some of the steps on how to do that. And write your email pitch, custom tailor each email. I'm trying to go through this as fast as I can, but I did show you some of the data behind the emails and what people really want to see and the journalists want to see in them. Send email and track it. We just discussed that, and follow up. So that's the 7-step process that I use, that I coach clients through, that I coach people all the time on. And I want you guys to follow this process this week after we end this webinar. No matter what happens, I want you guys to take this process and start reaching out. If something not working, I want you guys to email me and ask me questions about it. All right, how's everybody doing? I want to see some questions. Hit your question mark and say, give me a question, give me a shout out, say awesome. Tell me what's the most complex step, out of all these. What's like, oh, I don't know if I can do this, man. This is really kind of pushing it, or this is. Tell me what is really, really, really complex, and tell me kind of how you're doing in general. All right, I'm getting tons of questions here rolling in. Lots of people are commenting. This is great. All right, I'm gonna scroll up. Leon Lim, must I have traction to be able to do it? Leon, to do what? To reach out? Okay, Among Vishkamaya. Sorry, man, I'm butchering your last name. I frequently get stuck with the subject line. All right, so subject line is, you got 45, 65 characters, and you got to send it to yourself, man. You should send it to yourself, put yourself in the reporter's shoes, give yourself like 100 emails into an inbox. I use my junk box, right? I usually use my junk mail, and I send this email to my junk mail. And I'm like, oh, can I find it in my junk mail? Does it stand out at me? And I know that I just sent it, but I'm just trying to look through all of them and see how that looks. And it's a simulation of what a journalist's email would look like. So, all right, Jonathan is saying all good so far. All right, Dennis, fifth step should be the most complex. All right, write your email pitch, custom tailor each email. Yeah. I mean, what I'll do is I'll just share all the email templates that I've used, Dennis. If you want, you can copy the ones that work for me. But yes, writing your email is the most complex. Coming up with a good pitch angle, Andrew. Yeah, that's exactly sort of like some of the most crafting the subject line. Alexis says, well, yeah, it looks like, all right, tons of people are commenting on that. It's crazy. Okay. All right. I hear you guys. All right. Like subject line and writing the email is the toughest. So so we got like maybe 15 or so minutes. So remember the game plan. Why do your own press outreach? After that, how I got started by Google, the 7-step process that we just walked through. All right, it's time to reach out to press. All right, and this is really exciting. I was excited to do this for this webinar because it's just fun. All right, so we're gonna go for the next like 10 minutes or so, and for 15 minutes or however however long it takes, and reach out to press. After that, I want to finish up the webinar, give you that stuff you've been waiting for, that I mentioned throughout the webinar, and then we'll be done. We'll do Q&A. So let me just launch my browser here. Make sure you guys can see the browser and everything. All right. So I picked a bunch of startups. So one of them. So I opened up tabs of startups that looked really, really interesting and cool. Sorry if like your startup didn't make it for some reason. It's like nothing personal. I just had to choose some, and I think they're all related, so they're kind of similar to what others are doing, or at least you guys get an idea of how to do this. So I'm looking at this Itsees 3D thing, and it's a pretty cool startup. What it does is actually it's a scanner that lets you scan the with your iPad. You can do 3D models, so you can like walk around your models, and you can kind of look at what you can scan a model and have a whole model. So these people right here, the play buttons that you see, are actually just real scans of real people that are 3D, which is kind of wild. So you can see like how, all right, this is going to load for a little bit, but you can see like this was scanned with an iPad and a little device that attaches to it. So 3D scanning is big right now, right? So my mind immediately goes to 3D printing, 3D scanning, and so what I'm going to do is just open up a tab, and then I'm going to do 3D scan. I'm going to check to see who's been covering this in the news lately. So it looks like 3dprint.com, Watch Fuel 3D Help. So I wonder if the next web has been covering this. So I can see some new app, 3D printing. All right, so this is probably really interesting. Do I have a like deeper understanding of what this thing is? So I'm gonna look through my email just to see. So Svetlana was the one who emailed me about it, and she told me a lot about how this is being used in museums. Museums scan this stuff. Somebody at Comic Con has scanned themselves with it. There's also these guys at U.S. Scan. So this is really hilarious. So what happens is I'm forming up the story, the pitch angle right now, right? So I'm trying to figure out like what is it people are gonna grab onto. When I saw this, it's a slam dunk for me. I'm like, when somebody sees these like toys that are made to impersonate real people, this stuff is like hilarious. I think to anybody like having a little girl or like a little statuettes of yourself, like I don't know, it's just something like the next web will be all over. And I think it's pretty funny. So again, so I'll the next web 3D scan. Um, I'll look through some of the articles that the next web. Here's an article from 2015 by Jackie Dove. I hate how they do this, where they actually have the ad jump in. But look, 3D scanner app for iPad can now fashion body scans to figure out. So Jackie looks like has covered It Sees 3D. But Jackie might be interested in a follow-up saying that that these guys here are using it. So that's my one idea, is to reach out to Jackie and tell her, hey, by the way, we've had there is an update out there. Create form 3D. So take your selfie to an extra. So again, 3D printed selfie. So this is another opportunity that I can see reaching out to this person here, Tim Moyuhan at Wired.com, and telling them about sort of what we're doing, because he actually covers this type of stuff. So that actually gives me like two ideas here, and I'll get to the actual writing the email in a bit here. I just want to show you kind of like how I'm doing this, right? All right, so Tim, let's look at his stuff. Covers hardware for Gadget Lab with a concentration on cameras. So the first thing I look at is, look, is he recent? September 16th, September 15th, September 13th. Means like he's pretty, he's really current in terms of covering articles. So that's great. That's awesome, right? So Tim writes about hardware for Gadget Labs. All right, this is hardware for Gadget Lab. It sees 3D is hardware. He's covered very similar type of stories before. He has 17 years of journalism experience, serving senior editor of PC World, CNET, Prior Join, Wired. Okay, I don't see his email, but using our handy little tool, I'll just go to Email Hunter, which I showed you guys before. I type in wired.com in here. I find emails. So here we go. This is the format they use. It's actually Matthew_Simon. I probably will not find Timothy in here, but I just wanted to do a quick search on that. So most of the names are this_this. So my email will probably to him. The first one will be Tim _ his last name at wired.com. So my email pitch would probably be something like this. So I'll probably look back to that article that he found. And it's going to be then take your selfie. Take your selfie game to the next level with a 3D printed. With a 3D printed statue of yourself. Of yourself. Check for mistakes and then say, hey, Tim, saw your post about and I'm going to just mention one name. It's not going to be that long. DOOB3D. Doob 3D, all right? So I'm just going to be about Doob 3D. Wanted to show you something that is even crazier. And so in here, I'm going to give him some cool scoops about it. So I'm going to talk about one. We're also a 3D printing company. We're also a company that helps people. We help people do this, and then basically do this. Put that URL right in here, which is hilarious because Tim is gonna love this. So you post about Doob. Want to show you something that is absolutely crazy. We help people do this. We are about to scan you and send you a 3D toy of yourself. I wanted to know the best address to send it to. If you don't respond, I think we'll just send it to Wired HQ, but would love your address. So something wild like that, and maybe do something like that. We're sending you a 3D scanned version toy of yourself. So, Tim is gonna love this, right? This is a toy that we're sending to Tim. That's like absolutely crazy. All right. So I'm actually gonna send this out. I think I told you guys I'll be doing this live, so it wouldn't be live reaching out if I actually didn't send this email out. So I'm gonna take Tim's name. You saw the email format for Wired, so it's gonna be Tim at wired.com _ we're set to send this. All right. That's good. Oh, make sure that your email makes sense. My subject line kind of is weird here, but all right. Here we go. I've sent that to Tim. All right. Next up, again, this was very specific to this. This is a pitch angle I just came up on the fly with. I didn't really experiment with this too much. I picked these things about an hour before, or half an hour before we actually started this. Quiply is pretty awesome. It helps you review your boss versus the entire company. Let's see some of the others. I want to just probably not gonna write the actual emails because we're already at 2:04 right now. But I'm just gonna show you kind of some of the thinking behind how I'm gonna figure out a story or a topic. So with Quiply, they let you review your boss and your immediate supervisors, your team. versus like the entire company, like Glassdoor. So Glassdoor is their competitor. Glassdoor lets you review everybody. So Glassdoor, I look at Glassdoor and I'm like, you know, who's writing about Glassdoor? Well, Glassdoor itself, but let's go into news and see who's writing about Glassdoor. Wall Street Journal, Digiday. Why Digiday takes Glassdoor seriously? Why agencies take it seriously? Why do they take it seriously? Because Quickly lets you review their own person, your people you work with, not companies. All right, here's an article about this. This woman probably is the right person to chat with. I click on her bio just to learn about her. Boom, here's an email. Awesome. So we actually got an email rather quickly here with Shireen. What does Shireen like to write about? Bloomberg exec joins agency Trufflepick as a president, 60-person creative agency branching out, right? Ad spend. So she's kind of like a little bit of both. So like my pitch to her might be, hey, I see you don't really write kind of fashion week, right? She's kind of all over the place, but I checked the Alexa ranking of this baby, and it's 15,000. So it means, that means like there's some traffic to this blog. So what I actually end up doing here is thinking, all right, I'm gonna pitch her, but I'm gonna say, look, Shireen, awesome to connect. Kind of like I'm gonna start off with read your article on why agencies take Glassdoor seriously. That's in the news, September 16th. Like today, it's what 22nd, so it was like a week ago or something like that, right? You wrote it a week ago, last Wednesday. Um, Loved your article about Glassdoor seriously. Um, we actually are taking a different approach to this whole thing. We actually are starting to get people leave reviews about people they work with. I don't want you to write about this at all because I want you to give me your personal feedback about this topic. Does it matter if you review a person versus a company to anybody else out there? And that's what I want to get across to her is like, look, I want to start up a conversation that's going to continue and keep going. I don't want her to just respond and say, hey, yes, no, I'm going to cover you, no. Because that's just so cold. You're standing next to them at a bar. You don't want to just say, hey, will you cover me? And this is what we do. You want to just start that conversation going. So quickly, I'm like, I'm not gonna write the whole email out because you saw it took a little bit of time and it's a little, But this is what the actual pitch will be to her, and we have her email already, so you can start writing this. I think David Payne, some Payne, I think was the person. Um, awesome stuff. All right, yeah, looks like people are chatting me left and right here. This is crazy. All right, I'm going through. Guys. I'm going as fast as I can. So Sharik Pathak, whoever was Queeply, the startup that. So the email you're gonna send to her is gonna be in response to this article. It's gonna be short. The subject line is gonna be less than 65 characters. It's gonna be colon and then the title of this article. In the title it says, look, I read this article. I identified it so much that I wanted your feedback. And I want your feedback on this one thing. Doesn't matter if you leave reviews per people versus companies. Glassdoor is leaving reviews about all companies out there. Quiply is about leaving reviews people. So like we're trying to figure this thing out. And what is your personal opinion on it? And start conversing with her on that. All right. So I'll try and do like one or two more, but guys, it's just like I want to get back to the webinar. All right, so Medigo is sort of like a medical tourism company, and these guys like need to figure out how to pitch their stuff. So medical tourism is kind of like a niche market. So like you kind of want to look at kind of who is writing about this thing, and so in here I can kind of look at this article here, medical tourism going steady. You might want to identify with this medical tourism magazine 1 hour ago. Medical tourism stakeholders step up. Now this one is perfect for you. Whoever did Medigo. Medigo is a way to kind of like, hey, want to take a vacation in Thailand and get your teeth done? Medigo will help you do this. So like, this is perfect for medical tourism magazine, right? And responding to this right here. It's a pretty lengthy article. Looks like this article doesn't have an actual name attached to it, which is kind of a bummer. What we can do is you can hit contact up here. Looks like, so like, look at Look at this Alexa ranking, 786. That means you're going to get in there. No matter what you do, when you contact these guys, if you're going to go through the contact form, you're probably going to get in there because this Alexa ranking tells me like this site is not that popular. Like it's popular, but 3,000 followers, like it's on the smaller side, right? And so you're going to probably be okay just hitting the contact link and going through the generic contact link. Look at, you can even submit an article through their site. So it's your main pitch here is, look, vacations plus medical tourism. How can you kind of deny that? But this is kind of interesting. Armenia Now, 11 hours ago. Anyway, I don't want to soak up too much time, but one more. I'll do one more. This is a thing called Get Birdly. So expenses are a bitch. So this startup actually lets you have a Slack channel where you can just paste your receipts into and your expenses. They automatically log all that stuff and keep it on Google Drive for you, and actually are going to be integrating with a payment processor that reimburses you right away. It's just like hot, right? It's just like, it's sexy, it's hot, it's not, it's just really fun kind of thing. So reimbursements, okay, this was Medigo. So expenses app, then next web. So I want to look at Dollarbird is one that was written in 2013. Finance Tracker. So it looks like whoever's writing about Dollarbird is probably the person to ping. So whoever pitched this specific Get Birdly. Dollarbird is Paul Soares. Oh yeah, he writes for the Next Web a lot. So he covered Dollarbird, who's a similar app to this. So he might be interested in sort of what Get Birdly does. Again, I'm looking through his profile to see. One is, oh crap, 10 months ago. Okay, well, he's probably not the right person to ask because he hasn't published for the Next Web. But where is he at now? Do some of your research. This is where I want you to come up with that hit list that I showed you guys about, but the Next Web, right? So this was the guy, but here's his profile on Twitter. So now I'm doing some research to see, oh, he actually writes for VentureBeat, and he formerly was on there, and I got his email right here. Well, holy crap. This is like a gold mine, whoever did Get Birdly, because I just found this guy. I know his email, and I know he writes for VentureBeat. Now I need to go and see what kind of stuff does he write for VentureBeat. So I go back and I type in VentureBeat. All right, so under VentureBeat, I'm going to browse through this guy's content and see what he is made of. What does he write about? Math Crunch, Amazon slashes Prime membership for $67. Starbucks launches mobile order pay. So he's kind of a little all over the place, but look at, he's a little mobile. He's into mobile, right? Mobile. So you guys are on the right track with Get Birdly because it's I think it's mobile. So what you guys will have to do is say, hey, a long time ago, connected, like saw that, and also what I would do is look through these articles to see which apps is he covering. Is he covering any other similar apps to yours? And saying something like, look, I know you get, so the subject line might be like, I know you're sick and tired of mobile app pitches. This is not one, right? This might be the subject line for you guys. That's how you lead in the subject line actually gets open. Because imagine this guy has like 100 emails in there. It's all just tons and tons and tons and tons of people pitching their apps. Because he's writing about mobile apps here. I see a lot. So, I know you get tired of these things. And this is not a mobile pitch app, right? This goes back a while ago when you were at the Next Web. I remember you wrote about this thing that's outdated now and gone, Dollarbird. Hey, I got this new. We're doing this brand new thing with Slack, And I saw that you tweeted about Slack recently, and do your research, just find out if the guy's been talking about Slack apps and everything. But look, you just connect on very specific details that just happened. Like you switched over to VentureBeat, you started writing about mobile, you just tweeted about Slack, and that is if you want a real kind of like a conversation about what you're talking about now. If you want to build a relationship, then you can open up a conversation like Mernal did about one of his articles and start discussing a topic within this article, within that article. All right, so just coming back to Q&A, we're at 2:15. I said 75 minutes to stop. There's a whole bunch of people that are still on there. How are you guys doing? Just give me a shout. Is everybody good? Is everybody excited? Is this valuable? Yes, yes, awesome. Thank you, Dimitri. Thank you. Awesome, Tina. Thank you. All right, lots of people are chatting me now. I want to come back and just finish the slide deck up. So here's the stuff we missed, and this was only 75 minutes. I could go longer. You can call me, you can email me. I'll give you the stuff for free. Just I will give all the stuff for free if you like. It's on my blog, and there's PDFs and stuff. And if you want this information, like when to pitch journalists, how to build relationships, get into the whole nitty gritty of building relationships, full list of email templates, length of emails. If any one of these things is very interesting to you, I want you to just email me and let me know, and I will send the stuff to you. I have this course, and I recorded like 3 hours worth of information on how to build this. I want to give you guys free access to my tool, justreachout.io as well. So I just use a code called growth, and it's gonna bring your price down. So 99 buys you a one-time subscription to the course. Trust me, there's 3 hours of information, hands-on information just like this. It's super applicable and practical that you can adopt, right? Imagine this, 3 hours worth of that. Comes with my one-on-one support. If you want like very hands-on one-on-one support, I put in a $199 a month thing, discounted to $159 a month. You don't have to use it within the next hour. You can if you want. I'll keep it up for a little while. It's just like tons of, okay, cool. People are jumping in. I see. Oh, yes. You'll get one. So there's questions from people that are still on. Yes, you'll get one-on-one support. I'll help you write the email pitches. You can email me at any time. Yes. So some of the stuff so all that stuff is included in this course, and I actually walk you through building relationships. I reach out to press a lot in the course, so you'll get to actually see me do this a lot more. But yes, people are asking way more questions than I thought I'd get asked about this. No. So what I do is in the course, it's a self walkthrough. So when you buy the course, let me just, all right, some people, all right, 2 people are trying to buy this right now and they can't for some reason. So I'm just going to show you. So when you go here, this is the page. Don't click enroll now button. Learn.criminallyprolific.com. Don't click this button. Scroll down and hit this, how to get free press for your startup. When you hit this, you get to the actual course. You can look at Noah Kagan and 630 other people that have already bought this course and use it day to day. There's Rami in there as well. Some of the other people I've worked with. What you got to do is just hit enroll now, and it comes to this checkout page. If you use that code, it gives you a discount, so you won't have to pay 99. You pay 79. Same as like going out to dinner with somebody. And this is This is a question that I saw. This is startup PR outreach help. This is the one that you want where it's one-on-one help with me. So I help you write your email pitches. I help you refine them, change them, whatever it may be. If you choose this version, startup PR outreach help. All right, more questions. Yes, you just email me directly. There's more people are asking. You email me directly, and I will figure out. I will reply to you directly with email pitches. It's not in some public group. Yes, we have a group coaching thing, which is the most expensive one, but you guys don't want that anyway. So you guys want something on the cheap. You guys are startups. You just want to get this going, and you need to learn this. So Yes, there will hopefully be a recording of this webinar. I was recording. The session is being recorded, it currently says, so I will send a recording out. The recording probably won't have, hopefully it'll have most of it. I don't know. It's like, never know. People are asking the best times to pitch. We kind of went over it. It's going to be in the morning, probably is the best time to pitch. But any other questions? There's Q&A. I want you guys to just ask more questions, not about the course, but more about what you learned in this. All right. So good. I'm getting questions. All right. Like, for the course is great, and you guys can check that out. You can use the code for a few hours to get a discount. But I want more questions. Okay, good. I'm getting more questions. Better to send from your own personal email or made a cool name for this. Personal email. I would say I would use a personal email to send your emails from. It's probably the best way. I would try to maybe use a different email. That if you don't have, it depends what your Dimitri shower agency. It depends what your pitch are and what your pitch is and who you're pitching. So if it's a personal story, and again, we looked at that site, Art of Emails, and if it's a personal story, chances are you probably want a personal email and personal website. But if it's a company story, a startup that you're talking about, chances are it's good to, hey, it depends. Like, sometimes I pitch like, hey, a friend of mine is doing this and I'm an advisor. So that kind of thing is good to do. Personal email, a personal website, that works really well. Um, a lot of times what happens is I send out an email saying, "Hey, a buddy of mine is doing this," and they're like, "Oh, awesome! Thanks for recommending." You're not part of this thing, and you're not pitching your own stuff, which works out really well for me. Um, so to answer your question, it really depends on the pitch. Um, Dimitri, it looks like you're part of an agency, so you'll be pitching on behalf of clients. So I would either use personal email or your agency email, and then I would do things such as a buddy of mine, somebody I advise, things like that. Thank you. Yes, thank you. Awesome. There's tons of people just typing stuff into the chats that I'm scrolling here as I'm trying to catch up with all the stuff that people are saying. You're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome. I hope you guys got value out of this. I hope you are gonna apply this stuff and go reach out to journalists right now. Uh, can you give a quick example of a pitch angle? Tom, we talked about pitch angles. Pitch angles can be, this is what you saw me do live. So when I was doing Etsy 3D, I was trying to figure out how am I going to pitch this reporter? Am I going to tell him about the technology of the scanner? Or am I going to do something such as, hey, we're scanning this thing, scanning you live and sending you the actual 3D model of yourself. So that's a pitch angle, and it can be different. And so you formulate that. A pitch angle can be, hey, you've written about this, why don't you write about that? Or it can be, hey, we're actually doing something crazy about this that involves somebody else who you know. So it differs. Next question. What is the email signature software that you use? Why Snap? It's actually Mixmax, Ranjith. Ranjith Kumar is asking, what email signature stuff do I use? Mixmax is beautiful. I love these guys. Getting huge shout out to Olof and the team in California. They've actually sent in people into this webinar, and that I'm amazed at like how many people are still hanging out and asking questions. We're like we're way over time now, but it's cool. I'll hang out as long as people keep chatting with me and asking questions. We're at we're like 2:30 now or something like crazy like that. So more questions. Thank you. Yes, you're welcome, guys. Welcome. I'm happy to just provide this information to you and just show you how to do this stuff on your own. Does Mixmax only work with Gmail? I use Outlook. Is there something similar? I can use email. Yes, Mixmax only works for Gmail now, but there is stuff for Outlook. It's called Email Receipts. Just Google Email Receipts Outlook, and you'll find a bunch of different apps. Can you go into what good follow-up emails look like? Andrew, yes. This course actually has a giant section about it. Good follow-ups. Okay, I'm gonna give you stuff for free so you guys just know how to do follow-ups right now. Okay, whoever's on this, like, it's kind of crazy how many people are still on this webinar and chatting with questions. But hey, if you guys got questions, I'm always happy to give you answers. Art of emails, follow-ups. Um, so this is pretty good follow-up stuff in here that you guys should just go to and check out. 6 effective sales follow-up. So again, here she goes through kind of like how many follow-ups you need to get to a sale. You guys obviously are not selling anything, but the examples here are really, really good. What I typically do as a follow-up is really quick, like one line, and this is Andrew's question about follow-ups, and I say, look, just about to delete this email thread, wondering if you ever saw it, question mark. And I know he hasn't seen it, but that's it. That's my follow-up. Or trying, this is the best. So like, it's really hard for people to say no. And so what I do is I make it super easy for them to try and say no or say anything. So when I follow up, I say, hey, I know you want to say I'm passing on this, but didn't bring yourself to do this. So if you are passing on this, just hit reply, put N or P, N for no, P for passing, and hit send. That's all you got to do. And that's so I know. And that's just to get a response back from that person, right? And so check out Art of Emails follow-ups, and make sure when you follow up with them, make sure that you're actually asking, following up, and just doing something like I just said. Make it super easy for them to say no, because most of us do not follow up with people because we say things like, also, any luck with free accounts for Just Reach Out? Andrew is asking. Yes, so go to justreachout.io. There should be a contact link in there. Email me, email through that contact link. Say that you've been in this webinar. We'll check and make sure that you were in this webinar, and then we'll get you an account to use. Thank you, man. Love the webinar, and thanks for the reply. Yes, I can't believe people are still hanging out. People are still asking questions. A lot more people asking about follow-ups. Follow-up. Maybe I should do like a workshop on follow-ups. Honestly, guys, like the follow-up is really just one line, and it's usually kind of, hey, did you see this? Or hey, can you just say no? Or because I want them to respond with something. So it's really important to just make them follow up with something. So most of them just one-liners. I just want to check kind of what they've if they've seen anything. So like, see these things here? It's like this tells me like somebody's seen my emails, right? And so I can just see how many times they've seen it, and then just, yeah, that I check how many times they've seen that email, and then I follow up if they've seen it multiple times and they haven't responded. And some once in a while, if they haven't opened my email and I feel like, oh, they really need to see it and they haven't looked at it, I'm like, look, if they looked at it once and they never responded, chances are like no good, right? So, all right, everybody's saying thanks for the questions on reaching out to reporters about Quickly. Okay, somebody's thanked me. David from Quickly is saying thank you. I think this can be a challenge sometimes. Dimitri, how can you pitch a more common, helpful product which is not very innovative and therefore not very sexy for journalists? This can be a challenge. Yes, Mir Gurman. Yeah, it's a more common, not very innovative and not very sexy product. Will involve something of drastic measures. So, such as printing, 3D printing models, or trying to what Airbnb did is they created a cereal and they sent that cereal brand to a bunch of journalists, reporters. You guys probably heard of Grasshopper. What they did, Grasshopper is not a very sexy product, I gotta say. And what those guys did is they took they basically took chocolate grasshoppers and they sent it to a whole bunch of people. So if you Google grasshopper, chocolate grasshoppers, you'll find the story. Here it is. There's a whole case study about this. But basically, they created these letters, and like these letters were coming in like crazy. They were in the news everywhere with these chocolate grasshoppers that they would send everybody. It's just real grasshoppers that are chocolate covered that just went crazy bananas. This story. So again, not very sexy product. Grasshopper is like a telephone service, like a telephone answering service, like Google Voice. But all right, tons more people chatting, guys. Doesn't anybody have to do any work today? Like, it's just like it's 2:30 already. Like, but this is awesome. I love the enthusiasm. People talking about um, PR and trying to do this on their own. Um, okay. Whoops. Thanks for suggesting reaching out to reporters. Thank you. I have to head out. Tina, yeah, a lot of you guys probably need to get going. So I think I'm going to be wrapping it up. If any, like, there's some questions coming in, but most of the stuff I already covered. I've learned a lot, Andrew says. Do you recommend any service that can make any of the steps easier or quicker, such as Mixmax? Yeah, there's tons and tons of products. God, I list them all in this course. Let me just look at what do I do? Email Hunter is another one, Andrew. So just like put emailhunter.co and Mixmax. In terms of like researching, I use my own tool a lot, justreachout.io, which, but besides that, I usually just, um, let's see, some of the tools I like to use is actually right here. Charlie app is pretty good. It actually tells you information about a person before you about to meet him or her. This is a pretty cool thing. There's there's a a hashtag called journal requests. People tweet their opportunities for press using this hashtag. And so if you Google this, or not Google, if you filter by this search, this hashtag in Twitter, you can see people talking about their requests for writing something. Uh, Drop me an email, different blogs, but this is something useful as well, Andrew. So some info for you. All right, Mir is happy. Andrew's happy. Tina is happy. Tom is happy. Ranjay's happy. All right. There's a whole bunch of people that are just happy now. All right. I think I've answered a lot of these questions. All right. So this is it. Q&A, finishing that up. It's 2:30. We're finishing up the webinar. Yeah. If you got other questions or anything else, do let me know. I'll keep this code on the course for a little while so you guys can use it since you guys are attendees. I'll send it out to you as well. I will work on this recording to see how well this can be put together, and hopefully we can get something going with this webinar and get this recording together. I'm happy everybody turned out. We had a bigger turnout than expected, so it's really exciting. And yeah, thanks a lot, guys. Stay tuned. I'll probably do some more of these. Seems like this is pretty popular. I got tons of emails, 172 pitches that I went through, and you saw my inbox. It's gotten a few more in. So so yeah, thanks for sticking around. There's still people online. All right, guys, go home, do some work. Matt, Mark, everybody's just hanging out. All right, people are finally leaving, going home. Thank you. Thanks, guys. Talk to you later. Thanks.